I must be a female G-spot the way some of y'all Commander players be rubbing me the wrong way. Magic players are known to get salty over time, but when it comes to trapping people into another game, that is far from the solution. And I'm hoping to use this video to create awareness for some of these psychological patterns that we as gamers and as Magic players trap ourselves into. This post on REDH is a situation where a player won a game, but also then got trapped into another one where another player looked to kind of bully them out of it. And I wanted to go over some of the things that can lead to this and how us as gamers and as Magic players might hope to not apply this again, not only in our games, but in our reality, in our touching grass moments outside of the game. Also, yes, that is a new Gundam eventually that I'll be building as a late birthday present. Let me know if y'all know what it is, and I'm so excited to just add it on this side in the background. Anyway, back to the video. Player tried to trap me in second game to bully me. Never had this happen, so I thought I'd share. Has anyone seen similar behavior before? I was playing a game at my local game store where they pair you up in pods, and after the game ends, they shuffle pods and players after every round. My deck revolves around my Voltron commander, which is a bracket 3. My only way to win is through combat, no combos, no tutors, so I focus on buffs, protection, and evasion. A classic, the way Richard Garfield intended, right? I build my commander up, and eventually it has an 11 power, and I draw into a Rogue's Passage, essentially making it unblockable for the activated cost of 4. I focus down the player I feel like is most able to deal with me in the late game, and I take them out by turn 8. By the way, that's mega late. To me, turn 8 is like starting, if not already there in the late game. That's pretty all the way through. I proceed to grind out the other players with protection and removal around turn 16. That's crazy. The amount of resources deployed by each player, the amount of things going on. We obviously don't know commanders here at this point, but 16 turns to do something. I mean, at this point, it's not OP's fault here, right? Like, they're not doing anything oppressive as far as I'm aware. I go to pack up to be repaired, and the person I took out first tells the others, let's do another game. Hey, yo, they'll run it back. Let's run it back. We all agree and start shuffling and start the first turn. Only after we've started game 2, from the same player, they start saying, we don't have to be nice. We can all attack you as an OP and knock you out first. Oh God. I respond saying that was always the case. Nothing changed. My man created new rules. This is a new rules. It went, it went from a regular multiplayer game of Commander to arch enemy. My man turned into Nicol Bolas, and we had the whole planeswalking Avengers shenanigans squad coming after him. The Gatewatch marched to stop the Nicol Bolas, which is Brave Worldliness 4164. Oh Lord, and that my deck literally has to attack someone to win. Yes, I just, again, Magic the way Richard Garfield intended. They then start to try to broker a deal with the other two players to gang up on me. Anyways, I can see what's happening now, and I won't be subject to someone's fragile ego and bullying. So I get up, it has to be repaired, and so does another player in the pod. Yes, free will. They then start to acting inconvenience that they now have to get repaired too, and we're already a turn in. Anyways, rest games were unpleasant, but really left me with a bad taste. Hey, yo, first of all, shout out to free will. Shout out to free will here. Really what I want to do here, I think it's pretty cut and dry. We can tell, based on the information given, like, what the bad actors are and what's going on here. But some of the things that I want to highlight is some of the emotional parts that might have actually led here. And again, comparing this to generally being a gamer, being in situations where tilt might happen, you might be chasing losses and stuff, and kind of walk through kind of why some of these are a problem, and trying to highlight them. And again, some of this might be extrapolation. And again, I'm not a psychiatrist, but the large portion of this can be largely applicable. So if it helps anybody, then that's great. Again, take my advice with a grain of salt. Now, there's a level of tilt happening here. I think that's like the pretty easiest thing to understand. Some type of emotional dysregulation. around the idea of losing and or an outside source. So remember that when you're coming into a game of Magic, and this can be pretty hard, a lot of people go through a lot of tough things in life. I live a pretty privileged life, and I'm happy for that. And I hope that for many people out there, unfortunately, under our current capitalistic systems, that's not really possible. There always must be a loser, unfortunately. Now, when it comes to this, if you're in this position where you are able to play a game of Magic the Gathering, you are already in a privileged situation to be able to play an expensive hobby or have the resources and the wherewithal to travel to a place where someone can give you some resources to experience this. Again, I don't know if my opponents here or OP are kind of proxying decks or buying them outright or whatever. You are in a privileged situation. Just acknowledging the fact that you are able to spend time with your hobbies should be good. And also tying your identity to winning is also kind of the next piece of like that being a problem, right? Again, we all understand that approximately 25% of the time you are meant to lose the game, or win the game, all things being even. There are 4 other players. If it's even, if you play 4 games, or if you play 100 games, approximately 25% of the time you should win. So you should be focusing then more so on your fun, your mechanics, and goal setting. So your goal might not necessarily to win, but to get off a certain combo. You might have built up your deck brand new or made some changes, and your goal is to play out those cards or play out said combos. So you may kind of tutor in optimally, but understanding that the odds are not in your favor, you might choose to tutor for a card that you just put into your deck that you really want to see how it works in a certain situation. And once you get it out there, you learn something from that, goalpost being set. It's not good in this situation, or it's really good against this creature, or whatever it might be. You learn something new, and that is a positive thing coming out of this. In this case, and largely, it might not be really clear, but based on the odds, this is chasing losses, really, right? Like, this is that situation where you get into with your friends or your family members or whoever, where you're playing like an online game. I always bring up Marvel Rivals or Overwatch. Those are the games I've primarily been playing in recent years, where you say, one more game. We've been on a losing streak of 5. Well, what's one more game, right? Like, we can't end on a loss here. And so this player wants the run back, right? They just like in fighting games, they didn't necessarily do a first to 10, but they want the run back. They want the rematch. And you know what? That player got real salty. In many ways, it wasn't just a one and done type of match. A commander game is very long. Multiple turns were had. In many ways, it feels like a first to 10, whereas a fighting game match of 1v1 might last somewhere in the range of 30 seconds to 2 minutes, right? Depending on, how long round timers are and stuff like that. And so it can be very quick and people want the run back. But when it comes to something like this, again, the odds just aren't there, right? In the sense that you aren't going to be likely to win. And also, unlike a fighting game where a lot more things are actually in your control, whereas fighting games are considered some of the actual most competitive games out there because of the amount of things that are in your control. Outside of obviously netcode and stuff like that, there is always going to be a way to respond. There's always, a tit for tat happening. That's why fighting games are not as popular. They're really hard to get into. They're not as casual friendly. And when it comes to introduced randomness, that's why Magic can be very fun that way, because the random top deck, the crazy play, the random emotional response that changed the outcome of the game can be very exciting for the casual player. The inherent randomness of it all is very exciting to the average Magic player, and honestly to the competitive player in many ways, because finding that exact solution off the top can be very exciting. And so with that, get into mind that the odds aren't in this person's favor. So then they try and manipulate the odds, right? They then look to the other players and say, we don't have to be nice people. We can just target this person down. And so we're trying to manipulate people into a situation where we feel like we are trapped in, right? Like that we are over fixating on the fact that we need to win, and that some player potentially did something wrong to us, leading to what I said closer to the beginning, how there might be an outside emotional regulation factor where you come into this game, something bad happened to you, and you just try and put it on this player. You are putting everything on winning this game. You cannot leave this game or this situation without winning, or you won't feel good without winning the game. A lot of people have this really garbage explanation of like, I play games to win. that sucks for you. You will never be the top 1%, statistically speaking, unless you're already there. And I hope you, I wish you good luck in trying to get there. You will win some games. You will likely, you know, all things being even, in a random you by yourself, whatever, 50% of the games that you play over time. But in this pod, if you keep playing with that pod, you will only play in Magic the Gathering's Commander format 25% of the time. The odds of winning are not in your favor. And so this person clearly was butthurt by this. They might even by extension be butthurt by how they lost the game, that it was impending doom. Turn after turn, they were being attacked. Maybe they had that creature attacking had protection from that exact specific player or the colors that that player were playing, and other players didn't play, you know, certain piece of removal. We have bracket 3 in here, which is considered one of the vast kind of crevasses of Commander play. It really is such a range of play. You have dual lands and shocks that are available in there. Really, the only differentiator is people can't play Blood Moon or Armageddon. So you could really do some crazy things when it comes to building hyper efficiency in bracket 3. So the playability of these is widely in question. But when it comes to being toxic and trying to manipulate other people into working with you, that's when things get really negative, right? Because you're attaching things, you're trying to get other people to work with you. You're trying to use mob mentality in your favor. And I feel like that's where things become really negative for a lot of people. And the key to this is that, you know, shifting your decision-making to create like some level of like change in yourself, some level of value is important. And that's part of that whole, you shouldn't attach yourself to just winning. Part of that is goal setting, as I mentioned, using a different goal that isn't just winning, setting about a certain combo. And trying to win is perfectly fine. But if that's your only mission, that's where things get bad, right? You could be playing a game of Marvel Rivals and your goal is, you know, I always want to hit my, as a cloak and dagger player, my invisibility ability, like my ability where I shift and everyone becomes ethereal. I want to hit that every time against the Iron Man player this game. And Iron Man player is there. I want to make sure I'm always there to stop my, you know, teammates from getting blown up by his ult, right? And that's a cool goal. You may not win that game, but you've learned something valuable over time. And really what it comes down to is time, because some players feel trapped in their ability to win and succeed because they don't have the time to play like these unemployed people. You know, the people that get into like, you know, they get like the max level skin in Call of Duty like 2 days into it, like the real unemployed lobbies where they'd be like YYing, spinning off the back or whatever. You know, the kids that just aren't going to school or paying attention enough type of thing. And so when you're older, right? Maybe in your, heck, even in your early 20s, going to like college and university, mid, late, whatever, early 30s. And then you're there working a job, you go to the LGS, you have maybe an hour a week, an hour a month sometimes to kind of blow off steam, play some hobbies, and you got this person ruin your game for you. That's a larger discussion to have with yourself. That's an outside factor coming in. That's your ability to, or your lack of ability to control the time around you, and being frustrated with that and then bringing it into this game, not understanding that the positivity of being in this game, being able to play this game outweighs some of this. And I can't speak for all of it. Again, people go through things, but what I want to make sure is that we are not actively making attempts as Magic players to destroy the Gathering. We are Magic the Gathering, right? We're talking about a lot of high-level concepts that many of you may not have ever thought about before. But you need to make sure that you can detach yourself from the identity of just the outcome and winning. It's not about that final journey necessarily. Sometimes it is. If you're playing CDH, I guess it is about the outcome. I guess if you are there at an RCQ or whatever, it is about the outcome. But also it's about the, it's about the Gathering. It's about the folks that you traveled there with, having conversations and rooting them on, detaching yourself again from the outcome. That if someone in your play group does better than you at that RCQ, someone in that group you traveled with, that you're not feeling down on yourself, that someone is doing better than you, that you are able to uplift someone in the community to be able to be better than themselves. And for potentially that to happen to you, because it's not a kindness, it's not a gift, it's not being a nice person if you expect something in return. That's not what being nice is. And there's whole conversations to be had about being taken advantage of and trampled. Those are like deeper social dynamics here. But really, if you lose at a game of Commander, it shouldn't run this deep. This is insane, right? This is insane behavior to then call someone, like, how are you this brazen, right? Like, what led you to this point? Because you need to be able to learn to cut your losses confidently, right? And to be able to understand that game to game things are different. You can't be taking your problems from one situation into another, right? Just because you don't like force yourself into learned helplessness because you lost one game. Oh, I'm gonna lose every time. This deck doesn't work. I lose all the time. Every time I play at this LGS, I lose. Every time I play this map in Overwatch, I lose. Not remembering the times that you have won, or being able, or stopping yourself from creating moments where you are able to win, right? Because you don't want to go to that LGS anymore. You don't want to spend the time anymore, right? And again, there's so many deeper issues here in terms of, you know, people's specificity in life. I don't know what to tell you, right? I can't cover every situation. Don't bean soup me, right? Don't be that one person that is able to find the one random situation doesn't apply here and be like, Shaft, you're wrong. You know, if you're triggered by this and you need to bring this up, I'm not talking about you. Be mature as a viewer, please, okay? All I'm trying to do is make sure that we're being better people in our games of Commander, making sure we're not being this person, and that we're using, again, I gotta bring this up at the end, that we're using our free will just like this. I can see what's happening and I won't be subject to someone's fragile ego and bullying, so I get up and ask to be repaired. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. We have found the solution. Free will, right? And it's free will used in what many would consider self-preservation, but many others would also consider just a great decision. Look out for yourself, right? If these people don't have your best interest at heart, if this person doesn't, look out for yourself. Get out of there, right? There's plenty of other people at the store. They can go ruin someone else's night. But as this player, talking to this player that tilts off, understand where, you know, get to the root of the situation as to why you're upset. Teach these habits to yourself. When you're ticked off, when you're upset, communicate why, what you need, and how you can separate yourself from that situation. And sometimes that's not communicating it to the other players, but communicating it to yourself, saying it out loud, right? And this extrapolates to your friends, your family, your partners, your loved ones, extending it to them. If you had a long day at work, you know, just telling someone like, hey, I've had a long day. I'm very frustrated. I know you need me to do something right now. Is there any way I could do it in a second? Or if I'm able to do it right now, can I take a second after that, right? And if they're saying no, that's a larger problem. That's a larger problem to be had, right? Because what is the situation they're asking you to participate in? What are the solutions at hand? How urgent is it? Something like that's something for you to extrapolate from there, right? Like you walk through the doors and your partner tells you, yo, I need you to clean this ASAP, right? And you're like, I had a long day of work. And then your partner's like, well, if we don't clean this right now, you know, our floors are going to ruin themselves or something. Like we have this type of hardwood flooring. It's like a wet spill and I have an injury. Okay, fair enough. You know what? Like there's a couple of things being explained here. I'll tell you what, I still had a long day at work. I'm going to go clean this up right now. Is it okay if I take a second to myself after this is done? Perfectly reasonable. A bit of, you know, you may not be able to spend that time with your partner after this, but at least you solve the immediate problem. You've communicated what's going on, and hopefully something reasonable can come out of this. Communication is key. Someone was able to communicate to themselves that they do not want to deal with this. They took themselves out in a pretty reasonable manner. You know, they don't mention anything about saying anything bad or whatever, but they were able to deal with this situation within the parameters given to them at the LGS, and they did so pretty reasonably. Someone else didn't also want to participate as well, so they left. I think there was a generally positive outcome to this, and hopefully throughout this video, I've taught y'all something. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. This was a bit of a blabby video, but I hope I can teach some of y'all something. You know, I may not be able to teach you all the stuff that 3/3 Elk and Salubrious Snail can do, but hopefully I can yap to you in a video and teach someone something. Let me know if you've had a situation like this before. Maybe you've had a tilt situation, if you caught yourself, or maybe a situation where something bad happened, you were able to kind of revisit it and be a better person after the fact. Let me know in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear your stories.